Yo, what is up? Listen, we are back with episode 3 of The Slap, which is Situations, Life, Answers to Questions, and Purpose. And today, we're going to be talking about lovey-dovey, love. So, what is love? Like, how would you define love?
Love. It's a tricky, it's a tricky word, So biblically speaking, the Greeks used several different words for love, okay? But just in a simple way of putting it, defining it, love is an expression that has to be exemplified. Like it's a strong feeling or expression between two individuals, or it could be a love for something, a passion or a feeling for something. The kind of love that we all know could be that filial love, of course, the Greek word filio, which is a brotherly love. But the one that I like, the Greeks use a word called agape, which is an unconditional love. I think it describes the love that God has toward us. So in a very simple definition, there's some things about love that is important, but, I like to say it is that strong feeling of passion towards a thing or a person.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's an important thing that you just said, that God has agape love for us, and that's how we should try to mimic our relationships with people. Of course, we're going to have filial love, which is brotherly love, sisterly love. But at the same time, you got to, try to exemplify God's love for people. So as far as romantic relationships, I was reading up on this the other day. How would you define the process of falling in love and like being in love in general?
That's a fine line too. That other Greek word eros, which is that erotic love. Falling in love. I think about a person who enters into a relationship with another person, right? Mm-hmm. You fall in love, or you just love the person, which I think it starts off with that filial type love, where I'm just loving you. I've got a deep brotherly, sisterly love for you. Mm-hmm. Then it grows to that unconditional love, that agape love, where I it doesn't matter what you do, I'm still gonna love you. But then if it's a person that you are attracted to, if it's a person that you want to spend the rest of your life with, the person that you're sexually involved with, then it becomes that eros love. So it's a combination of all three, right? And since some people have either even that parental love for someone they're with, as a protective type love as well. So I think if you fall in love with someone, you begin to combine all of these feelings.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So you have all of these feelings toward that person.
Okay, that's where I don't know if you would differ on this or not, but I believe that falling in love and true love are two different sets of love. So say, for example, falling in love, I don't believe you have a choice in falling in love. Like, you have a choice to choose, like, who you like and who you choose to chase after, but you don't have a choice in falling in love, because here's the reason why. Say, for example, you're in like the second month of your relationship. At that point, you're still falling in love with that person. So you would do anything for that person, like, because you're falling in love with that person. You're so infatuated with that person that no matter what they could do, no matter what they could say, no matter how much they hurt you, you're still going to do whatever it takes for that person. I believe that after you fall out of that falling in love stage, that's when like true marriage and true relationships happen, because that's where true love starts to settle in. I think that as soon as true love settles in, that's where you start to take the mask off the relationship. Now you see each other for who you truly are. And now you're just like, who is this person? Like, how am I supposed to love this person? I didn't see the flaws before because I was so infatuated with this person. So I think that's where true love and falling in love differ.
You see, this is good discussion.
Yeah.
Because I believe that a lot of people, and I'm speaking this from relationally from another end of the spectrum. You know, I think, you know, when you have a person that you are, like you say you're falling in love with, I think a lot of that has to do, you just said infatuation, right?
Yeah.
So infatuation is, you know, there's something about that person that you're infatuated with, whether it's their body, whether it's their looks, whether it's their personality. So you said you don't have a choice. There's always a choice.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like you have, because if you're infatuated with one person, that means you can get infatuated with another person.
Right.
So there's something about that person that you choose to be infatuated or lust after, or you know, that you desire. So I think if we put it in proper context, where a lot of people really, and at least this has been my experience, where a lot of people kind of get so messed up, is they take that step, like you just said, you take that mask off.
Yeah.
I think you ought to start off taking that mask off.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like getting to know each other from that filial type brotherly type relationship where, hey, I want to be friends first. Let's get to know each other. Let me know something about you. Let you know something about me. And we're just going to know each other first. Some people go straight to that last step. And that's where infatuation comes in. That's where you start, you know, falling in love too quick.
Yeah.
And you start losing yourself, right? And so I think we all have a choice. And we are blinded sometimes.
Yeah, right.
By what we desire, what we want, etc.
Yeah, that's what I think I was saying. Like, you have a choice in who you choose, but then after that, when the feelings kick in, that's when, you know what I'm saying? Like, you start falling in love, and then you get blinded by, you know, just mad feelings and emotions instead of thinking rationally. So, speaking of that, now when you get into the true love stage, hopefully, I hope, you're married.
Yeah.
So what's the
hopefully.
Hopefully. So what's the experience like being married?
Oh. You know, that can vary for different people. Because if you are married, you know, I think it goes back to, why did you get married? Like, you know, there are some people who get married out of obligation because they feel obligated. Someone got pregnant, you know, or, you know, or some people get married out of convenience. You know, both of our incomes are better, so it's just financially going to be a better situation. But I think if you really truly got married because you are compatible with that person, there's a true connection, your purpose and your destinies line up, you are both expressing these various expressions of love toward each other, or in other words, you're in love with each other. Like, I think it's so much, all of that has to play. You know, let me say this, because this might be controversial. And I'm speaking from my experience counseling, coaching, consulting couples, married couples, from 1 year of marriage all the way to 30 years of marriage. It has to be, watch this now, it has to be more than just love.
Explain. You got to explain that.
It has to be more. You got to explain that. Because I can love a person.
Okay.
Right? Get married to them, but then not be attracted to them. I can love a person, get married to them, and then I just don't feel happy with them. I can love a person, get married to them, and I'm unfulfilled, they're unfulfilled. I can love a person and I'm a Christian and believer, and they're of a different faith. I can love a person. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So it has to be more than just love. Like, there's so many other factors. I know plenty of people who love each other and were in love with each other, and after 20 years of marriage, call it quits.
Yeah.
So It's got to be more than just love. There's some other factors. How does he think? How does she think? What are her goals? What is his goals? What do you hold? What is his values? What are her values? Like all of those things. And let's talk about this. Are you attracted to that person?
Mm-hmm.
Come on now. I'm a pastor. And I'm telling you, if you have an opportunity, marry what you like.
You gonna make sure of that.
Marry what you like.
I'm gonna make sure of that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because if you don't marry what you like, eventually you're gonna marry somebody that was cool, that was my friend back in college, and we kicked it. And I was infatuated with them then, but if it's not something I'm attracted to that I like, I know plenty of cats that married their best friend, but then they go to strip clubs. Because you want that, but you married that. Woo. So you got to marry what you like, man. Yeah. It's more than just love. It's so many other compatibility issues that have to be dealt with.
Mm-hmm. So how important do you think it is to speak each other's language as far as in a relationship?
That's important. A good book, talking about love languages, that's a good book to get.
Gary Chapman.
Yep, Gary Chapman's Love Languages is a good one. But I think it all lines up to when successful communication, right? Mm-hmm. Learning, and a lot of that you tap into when you get to know that person on a friend level first, right? My wife is not only my wife, she's my best friend, right? Because we connected on that level first. And that was one of the things that made me fall in love with her was our personalities were compatible, okay? Like we could sit and crack jokes and laugh all day, just me and her. Like we were doing that before we were married. I was like, oh man, she cool. I can kick it with her, right? So I think it's important for you both to have some unison in your relation with your language. Like you gotta have some compatibility there with your language, and that has to do with thought process. That has to do with, context, like how that person was steered and reared and raised, and all of those things have to be talked out. Especially when you're talking about marriage. Before marriage, that premarital piece is key. Because then you get to dig and find out, like, are we really compatible? I mean, we love each other, but are we really compatible? So language is certainly important, It's definitely.
Speaking of unison, this is the main thing that I want to talk about. And this can be a taboo topic because many people don't like talking about this. It gets uncomfortable when we talk about this. But let's talk about sex. Sex. So, are you sure you want to talk about? Oh, we got to. We got to get deep into it.
Right,
we got to get deep into it. So,
okay.
Sexual rates among young adults. Let's just say that young adults are rising today.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to know, how important is it to wait for that right person?
Man, it's very important. It's an unpopular thing, I would imagine, in your culture, in your generation.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's vitally important, and I don't mean to sound educational, but with the way our society moves today, a lot of STDs and things of that nature, that's a factor. But I think holding out as long as you until you get married is something that you don't see happen a lot nowadays. And I think it's vitally important. I think it says a lot to, what you hold dear, to that covenant relationship, right? The challenge then sometimes is finding somebody to marry that has taken the same vow.
Yeah.
That's the challenge, right? So, I think it's important. I think that's honorable, and if you should so happen to find that other person that has taken that same route, that's a beautiful thing, and I definitely encourage that, so I think it all again comes back to how is someone convicted? What are their core values? You know, you took Manmaker Academy. What are my absolutes? What am I standing on?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you only hope that the young lady has similar absolutes, similar values, and core. You know, so
yeah. Speaking of that, one time I had a friend. I said I had a lady friend, and we came about that topic, and it can be devastating when you find out that they've done it before when you're trying to stay abstinent. So how do you deal with that? Because from our standpoint as a Christian, we're told not to judge, but you still make subtle judgments in your mind, and then at the same time, it does kind of hurt on the inside when you find out that you're trying to stay pure, you're trying to stay loyal for the one you're trying to marry one day, and you find out that they weren't protective of their body, at least. So how do you deal with that?
I think it's one of those things where I think as you mature in life, you start realizing how special that is, right? Like it's a special thing if you ever find somebody who has held themselves from someone who's been, kind of dealing with in and through relationships for a while. And after, kind of looking back over my life after 40 years of living and after talking to countless amount of couples, it's a rarity. Okay. So if you should happen to find someone that's doing that, I mean, we were coming up in school, and man, I mean, you can think about it, sex wasn't really like, at least from my perspective, I knew I had friends who were doing it, but it wasn't really like the big happening thing because it wasn't as accessible as it is to you guys today. I mean, you can, y'all all have phones, you got Instagram, and you turn around, women are exploiting their bodies on Instagram, TikTok. I mean, it's just so in front of y'all every single day. So it wasn't as upfront as it is today. So I would say that to say you guys it's really going to be a rarity now for you guys in your generation to see that. And if you should happen to find that is so special. Yeah. Now, working your way through that is understanding that, when two people are connected and they're in covenant relationship, God joins you together. Let me jump into this now. See, I don't know if this is a father-son. I don't know what this is. This is somebody that's, but let me tell you something about women. You have to connect with women emotionally, right? Okay. So even if they have been with someone, it is your emotional connection with them. It is it's even a soulish connection that you have with them. You connect with them on a whole nother level. Yeah. It doesn't even matter who's been with them. When you found the one, and you connect with them on a deeper level, that doesn't even matter.
Fireworks.
It's fireworks. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it doesn't even really matter at that point because now the past relationship was a body connection, right? But when you and your what people would call soulmate connect, the one God created for you, when you connect, it's like you're connecting not only on a body level, but a soul level, a spiritual level. And she is now connected to you with all of her. That's covenant. So I don't really, my thing is to answer your question, I guess succinctly, I think it's about how do you get over it? I say you don't try to compete with it. Yeah. Right? Sure. You just establish your own standard.
And I don't know why this is such a taboo topic, especially in the church, because when somebody brings up sex, it's like, oh, you said a cuss word. But actually sex was hardwired in our DNA. Sex was actually God's idea. In Genesis 1, the first commandment that God gives humankind is to be fruitful and multiply.
Come on in here.
So I don't know why it's such a taboo topic, but sex was intrinsically hardwired in our DNA. So
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
But it was in context.
Yeah.
It was put in place between a husband and a wife,
Yeah.
right? And I think one of the reasons why, maybe many pastors or churches don't just kind of harp on it a whole lot is because of the sexual imperversions that we find within our congregations. People don't know how to handle that sometimes.
Yeah.
You preaching on it, and their mind has just gone somewhere else in the middle of the sermon.
Yeah.
Not to excuse it, we still should deal with it. Every part of life we should deal with. That's practical preaching. But I think where you see some hesitation then is if there's a church, for example, Paul dealt with it at the church of Corinth. As a matter of fact, the word Corinth means fornicator. The church at Corinth had so much sexual imperversion in it that Paul dealt so heavily with that sexual sin in Corinthians. In 1 Corinthians 7, he says, if you can't even control your lust, you need to get married. He says, if a man can't control his lust, let them marry. That's how bad it was at the church of Corinth. And of course, there's some contextual things in and around that with some of the temple prostitutes that were coming into the church. My point is, sexual sin has always been a part of our lives, human life. And I think that's somewhat the reason why, you don't just devote like a whole year to just talking about sexual sin, because people's minds and their lust and their flesh can't handle it all the time, right? But it's perfect for small group settings and things of that nature.
Okay, so I have a debatable and I have a controversial take on sexual desire. All right.
Let's get it.
So I believe that you should not try to repress sexual desire.
Okay.
And here's why. Since it's so hardwired and intrinsically in our DNA, if you try to repress it, it's only going to make it worse. That's just my take. So say, for example, somebody says that they're struggling with porn. And struggling does not mean falling into. That's what we just implicate. Struggling, if you look at the dictionary terms and you look at the dictionary definition of struggling, it means to contend with an adversary. So I would rather somebody struggle with porn instead of falling into porn. See, when you fall into porn, that means you were trying to repress it. You were trying to hold it on the inside. You didn't have anybody else to talk to, so you were trying to hold it on the inside. You didn't do anything about it, so therefore you fell into it. Struggling means, okay, I see this, like this is how I'm getting over it and how I got over it. I see this, like I know this is on the inside of me. I'm not gonna try to, hold it in or anything. I'm gonna see that and be like, I'm gonna transfer this energy into something else.
Yeah.
So I don't think you should repress it, but instead you should try to transform that energy or to move that energy into productive energy, like reading your Bible or working on a blog or doing something. So instead of repressing it, I think you should transform it and do something productive with it.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
It's what I'd like to call substitutionary living.
Yeah.
Right? I substitute that activity for this lustful desire. However, it's still there.
Yeah.
Jesus says, if you've looked on a woman, Matthew 5, verse 28, if you looked on a woman to lust after her, you've already sinned, right? So I think the thing of it is, and when you look at that text in particular, and you look at the word lust and after, desire, and you couple those together, the idea is that it doesn't mean the battle won't take place in your mind.
Right.
The struggle is good, like you said. Paul says, in me, I find no good thing. I find two laws working in me. Every time I go to do evil, go to do good, evil is present with me. The struggle is there.
Yeah.
I think it's good news that the struggle is there.
Right.
Right. But if I don't get to the point to where I can start defeating it in my thoughts, defeating it, that's that warfare that we talk about. Because, to say, and that's why I was glad you clarified what you meant by suppressing it. Because there's one thing to say, I'm suppressing it, or I'm going to do substitutionary living, or I'm going to just kind of hold this thing in check.
Yeah.
Because sin is sin.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Whether it's sexual sin, whether it's murder, whether it's lying, and we all have to get to the point to where we're learning to hold that thing in subjection. More time with the Holy Spirit, more time in our word. That's going to help us bring control to those sexual. So in some sense, it's not that I'm trying to deny the fact that it's there, but I gotta practice discipline and self-control.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for 40 years I've been in the struggle.
Yeah.
I'm married and I have to keep myself in check.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm 19 years married now. Right? And my wife good and fine. Huh? I'm 19 years married now, but I'm still a man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not blind.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I still have to practice self-control no matter what the case, you know. So I think you're right. Man, this has been good. It's been good conversation, man.
For sure.
You know?
I always got to bring it to the table just a little bit. Just a little bit. Always.
Well, man, what you got going on, man? What we need to connect with?
You can connect with me on Instagram at I am CJ Johnson, Facebook CJ Johnson, Twitter C Johnson Jr. 2021, Snapchat CIJJR. Again, might not answer, but yeah.
Well, look, everybody, this is The Slap, man. Another episode of The Slap. So glad everybody tuned in today. Hey, if this thing is bringing value to your life, the only thing we ask you to do is hit that subscribe button and share it with someone else, because we've got some good things coming down the pipe with this. I don't know, man. Maybe I see a slap conference coming. Maybe I see a slap. Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah. Hey, I don't know, man. I see something coming on the horizon. But everybody, you got to stay tuned. cajohnson.org. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Stay tuned for everything we have going on. What's up, man? What we got next? That it?
Yep.
Hey, we're signing out. This has been The Slap. God bless you. Until next time. Peace.